Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you are doing well. We are here with my round 13 team review and we are just chipping away in about 680 spots to 2,173 overall in the game with a round rank of just outside the top 4,000 with a round score of 1911. A few things have been going our way. A few things are not going our way. We've got a little bit to unpack throughout the side. You can see most of it here on the screen. Today's video is just a bit of a, let's talk through what my team's looking like. And then tomorrow we'll have a questions Q&A and I'll also have a trade target sort of video out tomorrow as well. So a bit of content coming out over the next 2 days. But let's kick it off with probably one of the most disappointing picks that I've made this year. In Lachie Whitfield, I brought him in for that 92 against Fremantle. I saw the run of Freo, Carlton, Richmond and Port Adelaide and thought, this is juicy. He's been kicking off this year very, very well. And wouldn't you know it, role change and away goes Lachie Whitfield. To the point where I'm almost considering moving him on at that round 16 bye, but I think we're going to have other priorities. I think with the Lachie Whitfield, we're just going to have to ride it out. If I'd gone with Lachie Ash, who knows what I would have got out of Whitfield, but very, very frustrating. Into it, Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. The reason he was my captain was that I took Tristan Sherry's 111. Again, it cost me, 11 points overall, but it is what it is. I was a bit worried. Not that Max wouldn't score well, but I'll just, when you got a 111, that's kind of that line where it was like, you got to almost take 111 because if something was to happen to Max, if he got injured on 30, you'd be absolutely kicking yourself. So, again, I would have loved the extra, 20-odd points that a Max captain would have got me. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. Connor Rozee, 121, continues to just keep getting it done in AFL Fantasy, especially since going back to the halfback role. He has been fantastic. Josh Dacos was brilliant, particularly in the first half of this game. Kicked on again and just with the 11 marks, got amongst the chip mark stuff that Collingwood were doing and just eating it up completely. Riley Bice, we're going to talk about him a little bit later. I still think he's a great trade out at his buy. Thank God he salvaged some of his cash. And an Angus Clark with a break even of 5 still has money to make. Geelong and Fremantle, not the easiest matchup for a wingman, but he will be in the side and continuing to make us some money. Midfield was actually really, really solid this week. We know Nick Dacos copped a super tag from Ed Langdon, which was disappointing. Again, marks were quite a bit down on the sort of 6s and 7s we expect from him, and same with the disposals, only at 19. Marcus Bontempelli was our big trade in this week, and I knew that it probably wasn't the week to launch into Bont, and I probably could have gone with Kennedy. I was tossing and turning between that last week, but I'm very happy to own Bont for St Kilda, Richmond, Sydney, North, Adelaide, Brisbane, Essendon. Gets a couple of tough ones towards the end. But then the rest of our midfield really did contribute quite nicely. Cooper Lord, another trade-in target, is going to make us some nice cash. Looked really good in that defence role with plenty of touches and marks as well. So I'm happy owning him for the run, especially now with no bye. Ollie Wines, time on ground. He got caught on the bench a little bit this game and it was quite low scoring. So hopefully against Melbourne, Sydney, Carlton, Brisbane, they're all midfields that like that contested football. So hopefully he can stay on the ground a bit longer and get himself involved in that. Other than that, Chera, Dawson, Ashcroft, Long in particular, Ned Long, just to the point now where we're probably going to just keep Ned Long in the side because he's just operating at such a high level. Break even of 63 could easily get into the 900s coming into a St Kilda, West Coast, Carlton, Gold Coast, Fremantle, Richmond run. He's just going to be absolutely elite. The midfield I'm quite happy with, and we get an Andy Brayshaw back from his bye this week as well. Then forward of the ball, Bailey Smith was a laid out, so we got Kai Lohman just as coverage score pretty well. Christian Petrarca was solid. I thought he was better than an 89, scored quite well in Supercoach. Obviously, his splits weren't great with 17 handballs there, so he could have scored a lot better. Isaac Rankin, though, just really, really disappointing with his score there of a 68 and is really struggling as of late to the point where he's probably a trade out next week. Then a Myers, Ashcroft, Daniel round out our forward line. Brian Myers has gone 130 and a 108. Caleb Daniel, again, started really, really hot in this game and only had the 4 marks. So I think there's a world where he could probably get involved in a bit more chip mark stuff. But in the last 2 weeks, that's been up from when his scores were poor. So very happy owning Caleb Daniel. And then a Zach Johnson with a 79 on the bench. 5 marks, 3 tackles, 5 frees, 4. Again, that's only 5 points added on his score, but he looked quite good for Essendon. So that's the review of my side from this week. If we now go to my team for this week, this is where I want to get you guys involved because we do have 3 moves to make. We're definitely not sitting in a spot where I've got heaps and heaps of options. So a Zach Johnson comes in to fill out our midfield. Obviously, in defence, we're quite light with a Riley Bice and a Josh Dacos. So I could move some magnets around in order to loosen up a Riley Bice to get him to the flex spot, which we could do, but it involves us moving some pieces around. So I'm not quite sold on what I want to do just yet with my trades. Obviously, we've got players like a Zach Butters, a Matt Kennedy, a Bailey Dale. We then pick up... we get Wayne Miller back this week, but we also pick up all the St Kilda and Fremantle players as well, who are quite decent value as well. Like you can even look at like a Sinclair. My issue is my cash gen, so I'm not sure how I'm going to quite make the money. I've got $84,000 sitting there ready to go. I am going to throw the VC potentially on Bont and then the captain on Max Gawn. I'm not sold on that just yet, but I am thinking about doing that. We are light on numbers this week, so a bias definitely has to go for us. I'm not quite sure where else I'm going to make money. The other thought is, can I find a world where I get Lohman as my F6? Can we then put Levi Ashcroft potentially into the midfield, and then turn Riley Bice into somebody? So it's kind of, how do we make this all happen? We have to then chop somebody. Do I go early chopping an Isaac Rankin and trying to get ahead of the curve? So there are options there for me and my side. I haven't really settled on any names as of yet. Obviously, Isaac Rankin with 84K on his head, you could go somewhere decent. Again, if you turn a Campriali into a Tom McCarthy and make an extra 70K, just for example's sake. So if we go Tom McCarthy in for a Camprielli, you go to your team. And then if I could see what I could turn Levi Ashcroft and an Isaac Rankin into, which are 2 players that have their buys coming up, it leaves you with almost $2 million. Again, if you go midfielders that are sitting in the 700K range with the last 3 average, again, you could go with like a Miles Bergman as an option as someone who's come off of their buy. So if we're going to target someone like a Bergman, it leaves you with pretty much $1 million to go. Who is somebody that I can afford? Now, whether it's a midfielder, whether it's a forward, if it's a forward and we just go off of their average, again, we're probably just shy of a Matty Kennedy, which is who I want. So let's get rid of Bergman. Let's go and just change this to players I can afford. Let's go and put a Matt Kennedy in. It allows us to have a 700K mid in our midfield line for an Isaac Rankin. And then the other option we could look at bringing in is not who I was hoping to bring in, but, you could take a chance on a Colby McKercher if this halfback role is going to stick. I don't particularly like it. If you go last 3 average, again, not a heap of value. So I've got some options to think about. Whether it is a Matt Kennedy that comes in, I'm not 100% sold on that as well. So we'll have to see where that lands. Maybe we go a value forward versus a value midfielder. So get your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think I should do with my side. But I will see you guys tomorrow night for a Q&A talking about all things trade targets. But from then, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for our live stream.